Let me first say that it is essential that we have qualified, experienced, and well-trained staff working in our special education classrooms. My son's education and even his safety depends on teachers and staff who know what they are doing on a day-to-day basis, and especially in times of crisis. There is no way that we can possibly pay our special education staff as much as they deserve, but we must try. Now let me talk about restraint and seclusion. I assume you know that we have a restraint and seclusion policy in Spotsylvania County Public Schools. Just a few months ago, I didn't. It never occurred to me until I walked into his classroom on October the 22nd that my son might one day be pinned to the floor by his teacher, occupational therapist, and assistant principal. Since that day, I have been giving myself a crash course on restraint and seclusion. One of the most eye-opening things I have learned, both through my reading and personal experience with my son, is the trauma effects of restraint and seclusion. Thus, I am asking for revisions to be made to our SCPS policy on restraint and seclusion. First is to bring our policy into compliance with the Virginia Code regarding justifications for physical restraint. Chapter 750, Section 40 of the Virginia Code lists only 5 justifications for the use of physical restraint, with the threshold being a threat of serious physical harm or injury. The SCPS policy lists 11 justifications for physical restraint, and is not clear that the threshold for the use of physical restraint is a threat of serious physical harm or injury. More specifically, the Virginia Code prohibits the use of physical restraint due solely to property damage when the damage of property does not create an imminent risk of serious physical harm or injury. However, our SCPS policy lists property damage alone as a justification for physical restraint. The second change is expressly prohibiting the use of floor restraints, both prone and supine, in our schools. Prone restraint is pinning a person to the ground on their stomach. Supine restraint is pinning a person to the ground on their back. This is the form of restraint my son experienced on at least October the 22nd and 25th. Both prone restraint and supine restraint are physically dangerous, both for the student being restrained and the staff member who is doing the restraining. Both are particularly traumatic for students in crisis, and neither are taught in the MANT system, which is the de-escalation training our SCPS staff receives. The third change is a prohibition against the use of mechanical restraint and seclusion. Mechanical restraint is expressly prohibited by the Virginia Code, yet it is permitted by our SCPS policy. Seclusion is not taught in the MANT system, which again is the de-escalation training our SCPS staff receives. If you know anything about the big lawsuit up in Fairfax County regarding restraint and seclusion, part of the settlement included Fairfax County agreeing to eliminate the use of seclusion in Fairfax schools. Let's not wait for a multi-million-dollar lawsuit before we do the right thing. You're going to hear more from me on this topic. I hope we can work together to pursue what is best for the safety and well-being of both students and staff in Spotsylvania schools. I've had a lot of interaction with Ms. Richardson since October. I believe her to also be someone who desires the best for our students and staff. And so I'm optimistic that we can work together to do right by our kids, especially our special education students, since they are disproportionately affected by restraint and seclusion. Thank you so much.
Hey, Adam, Mr. Blosser, can you take the mic, please? Can you provide those dates one more time from the incidents that you referred to?
October 22nd and 25th.
October of this past school year. Okay.
This school year, but last calendar year.
Okay, thank you for that. Dr. Flanard, I'd like to suggest that we look into the policy and also stay in touch with Mr. Blosser and get any counsel from him, and let's work together with him to help students of that nature in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Twigg. I was taking notes while the speaker was speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Blosser. We will be following up with you, and and of course this issue in general, and we'll have more to say about it, and hopefully near future. Thank you.